Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody. I am here with the third layout for my December project, and this is a gift that I am making for my sister if you haven't been watching my channel. If you've missed any of the videos, go back and check it out. I have the layout, the video where I kind of do an introductory video, and then also this is the third layout I've made for it. So I just went through my photos here and picked out a photo to use. I've got about 13 to 15 different layouts that I'm going to do. So have quite a variety of photos to pick from. And these photos range from birth to about 3 years old. And these are photos of my nephew. So I'm looking through the layout or the papers here, trying to figure out something that kind of jumps out at me. Now, I didn't pre-plan anything. However, I do have a kit that I put together for this layout or for this project. Just of, blues and greens and bright colors, just different things that I thought would be really nice to use for some, baby photos. So I've got this photo of my nephew, and this, I believe, was taken within a few days of him being born. It wasn't, he wasn't too old, but he also wasn't actually, I do think he was pretty brand new. I want to say he was just a few days old in this picture. I don't think this was at the hospital still, though it could have been. So I'm trimming up this paper, thinking I'm going to use it again, and I don't, but I'm trying. I am trying to use this plasticky piece of paper, or plasticky piece of whatever. It's not paper, it's like plastic, but it has Cutie Pie and Baby Boy and Angel and Precious and all these different things that are really cute, and I really think it'd be nice to use, but I struggle with this paper big time, and I don't think I'm going to end up using it. I don't know that I'm ever going to use it, but I keep trying, and the pieces keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller as I try to use them. So this paper that you see me flip through right now is very brightly colored, and it is from the Craftsmith collection at Michael's, and I really like this set, and I purchased it specifically for this project because I had a lot of blues and greens, but it also had the bright colors, and I am not opposed to using pinks or reds or purples in photos with boys because I am the only girl in my family. I have sisters and my mother, but none of us have any daughters. We all have sons, and we're all married. So we have a lot of boys and men in our family. So I am not opposed to using reds and pinks and purples and whatever other color fits my fancy that day. So I'm still going down this rabbit trail of using this plastic piece, and I'm gonna try to mat it on a piece of white. I'm just using the back side of a pattern paper that I'm not too fancy on, or too keen on, I should say. It's this yellow and orange stripe pattern, and yeah, orange is not my color in any way, shape, or form. It fits plenty of other people enough that I don't need to like orange. Although I do like yellow, so it's quite interesting that I really don't like orange because orange is not that far from yellow as far as on the color spectrum. So anyways, random. I am going to, or what I am doing is trimming around the edges of this paper because it's got this really beautiful large scallop, but it doesn't show up against the background paper. So what I'm doing is I decided to mat it on a piece of white paper, which again, like I mentioned, is the back side of this orange and yellow pattern paper, thinking that it will look really pretty on this blue paper, and it kind of doesn't. I don't like it, and it comes off, but it is where I started from, and this is kind of how the rest of the page evolved. Things like this I try to keep in the process video because it is part of my process. It's what gets me to the end result. And looking at it right now, it really doesn't look that terrible, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it just wasn't working for me. It doesn't look bad though. But it doesn't work with what I'm thinking. Now I'm going to stick with the same background paper. You can kind of see me thinking. I'm tapping my fingers going, okay, now what do I do? And I come across this paper, and I really like this paper, and I come across some vellum, which of course I really like vellum. And I think, okay, maybe I can use these things together. Just pulling out a bunch of different things, trying to figure out what makes me think it looks good. And I have a couple different things here. So I'm just going to set all these off to the side. This is kind of how my brain works as I go through the process. I just continue to kind of fiddle and work through things until it looks good. So I'm just trimming my photos slightly. There were some bits in the background that I didn't like the way it looked. And so I just wanted to be more of him and the, blanket he's laying on instead of like background paper things. So I'm putting it on this red chevron paper. And I really like this red, and it kind of makes the photo pop a bit. And I'm still kind of figuring it out. I don't always do a ton of planning, but if something looks good, I will stick it down. I'm not opposed to changing it if it doesn't look good. I put down this washi tape. It is a freckled fawn washi tape, I believe. It kind of looks like it's a grid pattern, and it has like love and little hearts on it. And I'm looking through my huge collection of LE Studio tags here. I keep them in a bag, though. Since this layout, I've had to move my bag into a little 4x6 photo container because my little bag is too little now. You can't even get the things in and out of it. But I'm pulling out a lot of the grays and pinks/reds and teals because that's kind of the colors that are used in the background here. And I'll use a few of them. And I'm not going to use near as many as what I pull out, but I will use a few of them. I find this is the easiest way to use little bits and pieces like this. Just pull out a bunch that you think might work and then see what actually fits on there in the end. And then I have no problem kind of making a giant mess and cleaning up after myself. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. Oh, and I was eating some Nerds. We have some leftover Halloween candy, so, Nerds. You can always use Nerds when you're scrapbooking. Okay, so I've done this before with this background paper that has stripes on it. Actually, it was a very similar background. Actually, was it exactly the same? I don't think it was exactly the same. I think it was a white and gray striped background paper, but this is a diagonal stripe. And what I did is I used the diagonals and I kind of did like strips on top of it. And I'm just trying to figure out what I think looks best. And I'm just going to cover the whole bottom right corner. And then in the top left, I just do like 2 little strips to kind of cover up parts of it, but not the entire corner. And I take a moment just to see, okay, well, I've got red everywhere else, and it looks weird that there's not red here at the bottom. So is there anything that I can do to kind of cover up a bit and make it red? So I just trace the background. I just put it like under the layout and put it on the background. That way I can make sure that it was exactly the right size. This layout is totally trial and error, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You can see my paper gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Oh, I'm going to have none of this paper left, which maybe it won't matter because I can't seem to be able to use it anyways. I'm like, okay, up, down, up, down, up, down. What am I doing? Then it seems too small. It's funny watching myself do that now because at the time I was like, I can make it work. I can make it work. And it doesn't work. Even this is going to totally change. Oh my word. I feel like that was such a disaster. This layout really, I like the way it turned out, but boy, it took a long time to get there. I do use this Life Documented, and I used a couple of these other things that you're seeing me layer. These are some LE Studio tags, like I mentioned before. These are all the ones that I pulled out. Life Documented, and then I have, I'm looking for something to watch, because, I enjoy, oh no, this is where I'm looking at my own previous layout to see what I did. Though I do really like to, watch other scrapbookers while I scrapbook because I feel like I'm kind of like in a crop with them. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go back because the other one I did before with the gray and white paper really was a lot more balanced. So I'm I'm pulling out, a couple different things to use here. And I'm just kind of going back to the original design. I'm just cutting off the corner here, and it's going to have that diagonal stripe. And somehow I did that crooked. I don't know what I did, but I'm going to cover it up with a piece of ribbon. And I like to adhere the ribbon down, and then I just use washi tape on the back. So I'm using it both at the top and at the bottom. And this again is that American Crafts ribbon. And it's kind of in a dark blue, but it's slightly shiny, so it actually has more of a lighter blue reflected. And I just use some washi tape to glue this, adhere this to the back. And then I have this paper, and it's a large text print. And it says like love and beautiful and smile and be positive and hello, love, forever, always and forever, love wins, things like that. But I was using it more for the design and not necessarily what it said, though what it says does apply. Excuse me. So I used this large piece of vellum. It was 8.5 by 11 sheet of vellum, and this is actually a really thick vellum, but I used it to kind of soften up the background. And it also brings a little bit more focus to the photo because the things that are right under it are a little bit softer. I'm going to use my staples in a couple different places here. This not only is to adhere those labels, but also to make sure that the vellum is very well placed. And it was a bit crooked, so I'm just going to take out one staple here and kind of reposition it a bit and then restaple. And then I'm going to layer my Life Documented tab right on top of that. And that's in the same color tones as the background paper. And then I'm going to cut one little small piece, and it's going to go up in the top left corner just to kind of mimic and repeat some of those patterns. And what it says is every day is a blessing. And that's actually the little sentiment that I cut out and put at the top. And I layer it on top of a little cut apart paper that I had. It was actually the back side of a package where it shows what 3x4 cards are in there. But it just says note to self, and it's in that red pattern. And I am stapling. Since it was in the middle of the page, I used just a bit of foam under the layout, and I open up my stapler and I just staple through. And then I push down the ends and cover them up with washi tape. So I did 2 staples at the top and 1 at the bottom. And this is to not only be a design element, but also to kind of make sure that that vellum doesn't curl, because you can see the adhesive through it. So I didn't put adhesive except for the parts that were covered up. I'm punching out my little notch to be able to have my journaling at the top, just like I've been doing. Looking through all my little journaling cards here to see if there's anything in particular that works really, really well. And I go with a 3x4 card that says first night home. And then I'm going to back it with just a piece of grid paper. I had like a yellow background, which didn't coordinate with the paper at all, or with this layout at all. So I back it with a bit, with just a grid pattern. I've been really enjoying putting these pockets on the back of these layouts. Since these layouts are for someone else, it's nice to be able to have a place for them to journal, but by having the hidden journaling, it's not necessarily, they don't have to feel so committed to be able to journal. Because if they don't want to journal, they don't have to. And I just make my little pocket by cutting out exactly the height and almost exactly the width of the paper, of where the paper is going to be. And then I use washi tape to glue down those sides. I used to actually, not that long ago, just a couple layouts ago, I tried using the tape runner on it, but the card sticks to it a bit. So having the washi tape, it doesn't really stick at all. I've played around with a lot of papers in this layout, and I actually, wasted a lot. Well, not really wasted, but there's a lot that I didn't use that I had kind of cut up. And I'll continue to keep those in my stash and see if I can use them. At a certain point when they really get to be unusable or they just have glue on them already, I will throw them away if I don't use them, but I keep them in my stash as long as I possibly can, thinking that I may use them. My goal, of course, is to use everything that I have. And I do that pretty much about 99% of the time. I very rarely throw any paper away. And when I do, it's just tiny little slivers and bits of paper that I have cut up so much that there's nothing left. There's absolutely no usable pieces. Even when I have little slivers of paper, sometimes I use those on Project Life. They're perfect little elements to add. So I am definitely one to use what I have. I have cleaned off my desk a bit so I can kind of focus on the embellishment piece of this because now my background is completely done. I am trying to decide what else I want to do, and I'm playing around with these LE Studio tags, and I am going to use this Today one. However, it's going to be at the very bottom. I wanted to add my title, but it felt like it was floating a bit, so I'm going to add that Today tab right under where the title is going to be, and my title is So Precious. And I end up using a blue foam alphabet, and it's from Studio Calico. First, though, I'm kind of playing with a couple other things, and one thing I did pull out are these green and blue rhinestones, and they're in like a larger pattern where you can, take off the whole thing and lay it down, but I actually am going to cut it apart like I do a lot of pieces like this. I cut it apart and use those pieces individually. So on this sticker sheet that you just saw, there are some little blocks that say baby boy, and I am going to back those on a bit of white cardstock and then also use those as just an extra little embellishment piece on my layout. And this is where I'm adding that So Precious. I enjoy the foam thickers. They're really easy to manipulate and kind of lean if you want them to lean, or slightly curve if you want them to curve. And the adhesive on them is actually pretty darn good as well. This little red bit that you see, Kaylin has been using my circle punch and making like robots, I think is what he says. So he accidentally cut too much off, and so we had to use the tape and tape it back. He likes to say that I'm like Doc McStuffins. I fix all his toys and things that he accidentally breaks, because my child is like Mr. Destructo. Like, yeah, if it can break, he's going to figure out how it is. He should be like one of those people that test the durability of toys, because he would truly be the test. I ran out of E's with this alpha, so I just made one out of an F. And this is where I'm going to use those baby boy stickers, and I'm going to, I thought I was going to put them here, but I end up moving them, and they're going to be more to the top left of the photo. Just backing them on a bit of white cardstock. This helps them be a little bit more durable, and they were actually really, really thin, so you could kind of see through them. Plus, having them backed on cardstock gives me the ability to kind of move them around and see where it works best. This is my little trash bin. You can see I very rarely throw anything away, and when I do, it's just little bits of slivers. And this is where I'm going to add that Today label. It just says So Precious. It brings that red into another spot, but it also kind of gives a little bit of a grounding element for that part of the title. The So looked like it was floating. The Precious at least is lined up on the edge of the vellum, but the So really looked like it was floating around. So that Today label gives it a bit of a grounding element. And then this is where I'm also going to put the baby boy, because it fits right on the corner of that photo. And I did use one of the foam hearts that came with that alpha set. I believe I'm pretty sure that's the alpha set that had green on one side and blue on the other. I have one that's just two sides of the blue, but I'm pretty sure that one by Studio Calico is the one that had green on one side, like a lime green. Ooh, excuse me. I'm tired all of a sudden. Anyways, it has lime green on one side and this baby blue, powder blue color on the other side. I'm just trimming up these. Now these are going to take me absolutely forever to go through. I have a ton of them, and they're on this really big kind of decorative piece of rhinestone. So rhinestone embellishment. So I just kind of continuously cut little bits here and there to use on my layouts. I really liked the blue. It has a really bright kind of aqua blue. It matches the background paper a bit. And so I thought it was a nice little element to have in a few places. I have it up near the top left where that every day is a blessing that you can see me working on right now. I also have a few over there by the heart that's going to go in the right corner right there. I also have a few by the baby boy cut apart pieces. And then I have a few by the life documented pieces. And then I'll have a little bit of some black ink splatter across the layout as well. I really like how the vellum kind of softens the background. I really enjoy, I keep saying that, I really. Anyways, I enjoy the text paper. I think text paper adds a lot. You know, not only does it actually add the text that's on the paper, which was completely relevant to this layout, but it also, just adds another layer, a dimension. Even if you don't read the text, you can tell that it's more than just a pattern. And it kind of complements the diagonal pattern in the background because it's not a competing pattern. There's not, stripes against diagonals or dots against stripes. It's more of a complementary pattern versus a pattern that is contrast to it. So I'm just trying a few little things to see if there's anything else that I want to add, and then I'll decide here in just a moment to add the black ink splatter. But this pretty much completes the layout. Please let me know if you have any questions. Also subscribe if you would, so you can see what new videos I have coming out. And also, if you would like, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy this video. I would love to see what things you like and what things you prefer to see more of. So giving me a thumbs up kind of gives me an idea there. I just added a little banner of that pink, and that pretty much finishes it. So thanks for watching. Bye.